In today's video, critical warnings are being issued by federal and state government agencies due to the ongoing government shutdown, as Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer are in full-blown panic mode, attempting to save their political careers because they know the socialists are coming to take over their party and they cannot stop it. So to prove that they're willing to stand up to Trump, they're willing to pander to the far left wing of their party and dangle the livelihoods of Americans over the fire as they go without paychecks. But shutting down the government has real life consequences. For example, at airports, with air traffic controllers, the people who are responsible for keeping skies safe, they aren't getting paid right now. And so you have more people who are calling out so they can do Uber or DoorDash or something that will allow them to earn income. And that's not a good thing when you're talking about the people who are responsible for keeping the skies safe. Democrats have already admitted this is their leverage, even if it means Americans suffer. And so we're breaking it all down, how each side is presenting their case and what it means for the people caught in the middle. And so make sure you guys stay tuned because I'm going to share with you Chuck Schumer admitting back in 2014 that they should have never even created Obamacare. So stay locked in. But let's start with White House Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt. Take a listen.
We are now on day 23 of the Democrat government shutdown. Senate Democrats have voted 12 separate times now to keep the government closed. Innocent Americans are suffering every day as a result. More than 500,000 civilian federal employees will miss a full paycheck tomorrow. Thousands of small business loans are going unapproved each month. This means almost $4 billion in capital is being withheld from small businesses across the country. The Democrat shutdown is also causing severe impacts at airports across the country. In one single day this week, the FAA had to issue ground stops impacting flights at Houston's George Bush Intercontinental Airport and Hobby Airport. 13,000 air traffic controllers who ensure that we all fly safely are continuing to work without pay. This is egregious and truly sad. Some of them are reportedly being forced to turn to driving for Uber and taking on other second jobs to make ends meet as the Democrats continue to shut down the government. Pilots are calling on Democrats to end this dangerous political game. The president of the Southwest Airlines Pilot Association called for the clean continuing resolution to be passed, saying, quote, "Our air traffic controllers and the broader air traffic system are already operating under immense pressure. A government shutdown only compounds that stress and threatens the efficiency of our skies." The Airline Pilots Association International, which represents more than 80,000 pilots, is sounding the alarm as well. They said this shutdown is undermining our system's safety. Resources are stretched thin, negotiations are delayed, and strain grows daily. With the Thanksgiving holiday approaching, we are nearing the busiest travel period of the entire year, when millions of Americans will go to airports to spend time with their loved ones. Let us be very clear from the White House today. If the Democrats continue to keep the government closed, we fear there will be significant flight delays, disruptions, and cancellations in major airports across the country this holiday season. If Democrats continue to shut down the government, they will also be shutting down American air travel. The White House is in constant communication with the air traffic controllers, with the airline associations, and with them, we urge Democrats to please pass the continuing resolution so we can just end this madness and this chaos and reopen the government.
Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries are willing to let this chaos continue just to protect their political careers. They'll keep pushing the narrative that this is about extending subsidies so Americans can afford their health insurance, but that's not the truth. This is about power, plain and simple. It's about trying to regain control from Republicans. And they're using a failed system, Obamacare, as an excuse. And every time they say that it's about the subsidies, they're telling you without saying it that Obamacare is a failed system. That's why they need to use the subsidies to continue to prop it up. And you know me, I like to show you guys the numbers in order to give you guys real context. Take a look at this chart showing the number of first-time enrollees of Obamacare over the past decade. And while this chart doesn't tell us everything, it does tell us, in a way, how people have reacted to Obamacare since 2014 to 2024. So basically a decade of data we have right here of first-time enrollees. And so let's take a look. 2014, 7.8 million Americans enrolled in it. And that was the highest amount of enrollees since it has began. Every year after that, we see that it declined with no subsidies to prop it up. 2017, only 3.4 million Americans enrolled. 2019, only 2.6 million Americans. 2021, 4 million Americans. Now remember, in 2021, Biden passed a bill that added the subsidies to Obamacare. And then we remember in 2022, he extended those subsidies further, a 3-year expiration, bringing us to 2025, where we're at right now. He extended those subsidies for Obamacare. And you see in 2023, the effect that extension had on first-time enrollees, doubling the number from 2022 to 2023. And so the people were rejecting Obamacare. Let me blow that up so you guys can really see it. The people were rejecting Obamacare year after year after year after year. And it took the subsidies by the Biden administration to make it attractive enough for people to then say, okay, now it's affordable. I'll sign up for it. And Chuck Schumer knew this back in 2014. He knew this was not the direction Democrats should have went in pushing Obamacare. He knew that they should have went in a different direction. I'm going to play you guys a clip from the midterm elections and Democrat agenda where he's speaking and he's making it clear that Democrats messed up. Obamacare was not the thing to actually pursue. They should have went another route. Take a listen.
Democrats should have continued to propose middle-class-oriented programs and built on the partial success of the stimulus. But unfortunately, Democrats blew the opportunity the American people gave them. We took their mandate and put all of our focus on the wrong problem, health care reform. Now, the plight of uninsured Americans and the hardships caused by unfair insurance company practices certainly needed to be addressed. But it wasn't the change we were hired to make. Americans were crying out for the end to the recession, for better wages and more jobs, not changes in health care. This makes sense, considering that 85% of all Americans got their health care from either the government, Medicare, Medicaid, or their employer. And if health care costs were going up, it really didn't affect them. The Affordable Care Act was aimed at the 36 million Americans who were not covered. It's been reported that only a third of the uninsured are even registered to vote. In 2010, only about 40% of those registered voted. So even if the uninsured kept with the rate, which they likely didn't, you would still only be talking about 5% of the electorate. To aim a huge change in mandate at such a small percentage of the electorate made no political sense. So when Democrats focused on health care, the average middle-class person thought, the Democrats are not paying enough attention to me.
Boom. I mean, Chuck Schumer knew back in 2014 that this was not the direction Democrats should have went. A vast majority of the people on Obamacare, you heard him, are not even registered voters. And so Hakeem Jeffries is telling you that this is about Democrats making sure that Americans have health care. He's lying to you. It's never been about that. It's always been about standing up to Trump, creating as much chaos as possible, pandering to the far left party to save their own political career, and doing whatever they can to regain power from the Republican Party because they see that they're losing it. They see that their party is in disarray. And so it doesn't matter how many people it affects. Federal workers, the airlines, traffic controllers, the millions of travelers potentially during the holiday season. It does not matter. And now it's going to have an effect on people who are receiving their welfare benefits as well, some of whom you would assume are their supporters, Democrat supporters, will not be receiving their SNAP benefits, their food stamps, because of the government shutdown caused by the Democrats. Take a listen.
States are warning struggling Americans who rely on food stamps to pay for groceries that they may miss out on benefits come November. It comes after the USDA sent out letters saying that if the lapse in appropriations continues, there will be insufficient funds to pay full benefits next month. That would leave roughly 1 in 8 people in the U.S. without food assistance, according to the Center for Budget and Policy Priorities. Ellen May, currently furloughed from her job at the USDA Food and Nutrition Service, is also a chapter president, representing her coworkers at the Northeast Regional Office. Ellen, thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
The impact of the shutdown on SNAP benefits comes on the heels of President Trump's mega bill. It already cut the program by more than $180 billion over the next 10 years. Can this program cover the needs in our country? What happens to the 42 million Americans if not?
Yeah, and I just want to start off by saying that everything that I'll say today is my personal view. I'm definitely not speaking on behalf of my agency, speaking as a private citizen here. And as you said, there's been lots of reports that SNAP benefits might not go out, and there's a lot of uncertainty about how things and people's food needs will be covered if the money goes out. There's really no certainty about if the food banks are going to be enough to cover all of the needs that people will have if their SNAP EBT cards don't swipe when they go to the grocery store, or if there will be other funds coming in, especially like me as a furloughed worker. We usually know more sitting on the other side, but we really don't know a lot right now since we're all in the furlough.
And the Special Supplemental Nutrition Program for Women, Infants, and Children, that's also known as WIC, is also on the verge of running out of money. It will impact some 7 million low-income mothers, expectant mothers, and children. Are there any resources or emergency measures in place?
So I've seen that the National WIC Association, first at the first half of the month, they announced that the White House had given them extra funding so that people could have WIC benefits in the month of October. And I saw that they released a memo within this past week asking for the White House to take action to do that again. But other than that, there's really no saying if the states will have money to help with benefits keep flowing, or if the people on the program, the pregnant women and their children under the age of 5, will have to turn again to the emergency food system that's already under a lot of strain. One of my members volunteers at a food bank, and recently they said that the food bank opens at 8:30, goes until 11, and by 9:30 we're already starting to run out of some food. So not sure if it'll be enough.
If Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer continue with this government shutdown, SNAP benefits will likely stop in November. That means millions of Americans, including those who really need it, the disabled, seniors, could lose access to food assistance, people who literally depend on it to get by. But here's the uncomfortable truth, and it's one that few people have been willing to say out loud. For years, too many people have become dependent on government as a permanent safety net instead of a temporary lifeline. And so maybe for those people, it's a wake-up call, because while the disabled and elderly deserve protection, those who are perfectly capable of working need to start realizing the harsh truth. And personally, I just think that government assistance shouldn't be anyone who's capable of working. It shouldn't be their plan A. And for Hakeem Jeffries and the Democrats, their sole purpose right now is just to continue to talk in circles. Here he is on Face the Nation on CBS, being confronted with all of this new information, with the updates about the airports, about SNAP benefits, about federal workers not receiving pay. Listen to his response.
I hear you on rising healthcare costs, but the immediate term, people aren't getting paid. 750,000 federal workers are on unpaid leave. 80% of the folks who work on our nuclear program are included in that figure. The Agriculture Secretary said there will be delays in food stamps for many of the 41 million people who rely on SNAP. And then at airports across the country, half of the flight delays, according to the Transportation Secretary, are because of staffing shortages. This pain is real now. So is there a point at which it becomes too great to justify continuing the shutdown?
Well, there is an urgent need to reopen the government, which is why we continue to demand that Republicans sit at the negotiating table so we can enact a spending agreement that's bipartisan in nature. That's what we've called for from the very beginning.
But the Republicans are saying they won't do that until you pass the funding bill, the clean funding bill that already passed the House. Why can't Democrats in the Senate get on board with that?
Well, we've made clear, and I'm thankful for the leadership of Chuck Schumer and Senate Democrats, that we were not going to support a partisan Republican spending bill that continues to gut the health care of the American people.
Now, see, this is where Dollar Tree Obama Hakeem Jeffries just isn't making any sense. He keeps on saying that there's an urgency to reopen the government, but then refuses to actually reopen the government. If it were truly as urgent as Jeffries wants people to believe, Democrats would have passed the clean resolution. Plain and simple. Instead, he wants to hold the country hostage. Give us what we want first so it shows a sign of strength by us, and then we'll reopen. But the longer the shutdown continues, the clearer it becomes with who's responsible. The Democrats. They're willing to watch Americans suffer. Federal workers, families, the disabled, elderly, just to try and recapture power and prove they're willing to stand up to Trump. But let me know your thoughts. As always, if you enjoy the content, make sure to like the video and subscribe and turn on those notification bells for more breakdowns just like this. And don't forget, stick around for the next video, and I'll see you next time.